people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, they say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten. Hung in a hallway where no tour can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Stop the testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. An administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Boxes of documents stacked floor to the wall. Top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't need. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaos and secret, an NDA signed, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fined. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see
mountains tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Goes through crises, storms and war. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they shout out today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason if Joe's the name is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, full numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Twas the night before Christmas when all through the land Fox News warned its viewers of a dastardly plan. The liberals were launching their war on the season to get rid of Christmas and commit acts of treason, removing decorations out of their sight and telling you that Santa and Jesus ain't white. Environmentalists who will come right after your soul. They hate all things Christmas, especially the coal. They'll sneak in your house all dressed in their flannel and instead give the bad kids some new solar panels. They'll take up all decorations that please us. They'll even go after tiny baby Jesus. Now all these Fox lies cause such a frustration. Who would save us all from this misinformation? When live from the net there came lots of chatter. Could it be old St. Nick or perhaps someone fatter? Broadcasting from New Orleans down in Louisiana, it was none other than Liberal Dan, coming to save the holiday season, busting through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. But I cannot do it myself, he exclaimed, so he called other groups, each one by name, on Christians, on Muslims, on Wiccans, on Jews, on Hindus and Buddhists and atheists too. Let's all spread the word and tell them indeed that there's no war on Christmas, just one on greed. So instead of joining this manufactured fight, listen to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk comes the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, live on Thursday here from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, either join us in either of the group chats on either at twitch.liberaldanradio.com or here on YouTube at liberaldanradio.com as well. Either way gets you there. Again, not sure if we'll open up the phone lines today. We will see. I wasn't feeling too hot earlier today. I'm doing okay now, but if things go downhill again quickly, I may have to jet out just because didn't have a good afternoon. Let's just put it that way. You don't need to know all the details, but anyway. So shouts out to Aaron, one half of the Mod Squad, for 23 months as a liberal Danimal, and also to Mr. Spock, live long and prosper, for also being a liberal Danimal for 4 months. Thank you all for your support, and you can support the show many ways, including being a liberal Danimal here. Being a member over there, getting a subscription over on Twitch. You can get it for free if you use Amazon Prime and you haven't used it for anybody else yet. You can buy super chat, super stickers. You can gift memberships and subscriptions in both places. But you can also buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me cider button, or go to buymecoffee.com/liberaldanradio. Venmo Liberal Dan. You can do that. Just do friends and family. You're not buying anything from me. We're going to try and get this Liberal Dan t-shirt store back up and running again. Just waiting on either see if I need to go with whoever they're going with, or if, to actually make the t-shirts or whatever, or to get the, I guess the hosting that they have done or whatever. I don't know. But hopefully by the beginning of the year, we'll have a new t-shirt store. And then also, of course, the best thing you do is, to help the algorithm, because the algorithm needs more rhythm, is just participate in the chats. Again, as I said yesterday, at least according to Riverboat Jack, one of the other creators I watch, you can, the best thing you could do is leave comments on videos. Commenting on videos is the most important thing you can do to help the algorithm, but also remember to like, share, get other people to subscribe. Doesn't look like I'm going to hit my 3 grand goal of subscribers by the end of the year. I did kind of start that one late, but maybe we can hit that sometime next year. So that's, if you want to help me do that, just help the algorithm out, engage with other people, even the deplorables, because, that probably will ramp up engagement, as they say. So shout out to Orvillaby and Aaron over there on the Twitch chat, and we got both
Aaron and Jolie here, including Steve from across the pond.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
We've got Christina. Good to see you. Goddess Kimchi's in the house. Christina's here. Thank you for joining. Let's scroll on down. Molly, it's a joy to see you. Anybody else that I've missed out? I don't think so. And we did announce that we were going to be here on Thursdays yesterday. But, you know, again, it's a new day. And we'll see we'll see who straggles on in, right? So a couple things to talk about today. I think the one of the things I do want to do is I want to basically do a response video to the announcement by the Department of Justice showing that they've captured, or at least they've known who he was for a while, but they've captured it. Thank you, Jolie. Jolie subscribed with Prime for month number 2 over there on Twitch as well. So thank you for the subscription with Prime as well. Appreciate you, Jolie. Cost effective, right? So anyway, so they've known who it is for a while. They didn't release the name. They got it done. They found who it is. But from the brief portions that I've seen on several media channels, it's just ripe. It's ripe for the picking to get the hypocrisy. Just rife with hypocrisy is what this video is. And we will go over that in a second. We also have the dissent from the ruling today that issued a stay on the previous injunction so that the Texas redistricting maps can go forward. And one thing I'll say about that before we actually start going into the review of the dissent is simply that, I hope this backfires on them. I hope this backfires on them so hard, as we talked about yesterday, with the fact that we've seen in districts. And it's not just the fact, if you want to look at the Tennessee House seat for District 7, if you want to look at that, it's not just the fact that these Democrats in these special election races are moving everybody to the left by many points, like 20-something points overall. But there's the other issues of, if you go into the counties, like even the Republican counties, they're moving over like 6-7 points to the left. They keep, every single area is moving to the left. And so while you have the 80% or so of the Republican Party that are full-on MAGA, we still support Donald Trump, hoorah, yada, 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 all their deplorableness. There's that 20% that is... Eventually, I think a lot of them are going to be, I don't know if all of them or most, I don't know if a majority of them are now in opposition to Trump, but I mean, if you're not supporting what he's doing, then you're more likely to try and at least flip Congress the other way to try and force some reasonableness at whatever reasonableness you can enforce until you can get to the next presidential election, that is. So there's that. Christina goes, I don't buy it. The man's black. You have a couple, right? I mean, there are a few whack jobs or whatever, but it's weird that he's black and he was arrested and actually, taken into custody. But I guess it's not an active shooter, so that there's that. Usually, law enforcement likes to shoot black folks who are active shooters and not, with the white folks that are active shooters. Let's see. Thank you, Jolie, for sharing all of that over there on Twitch. Appreciate you. Let's see, Florida is redistricting, but that won't change my vote for blue candidates. Well, exactly. But the thing is that it may the redistricting that they're doing in Florida and Texas is watering down the strength of their Republican districts. Now, does this mean that the Democrats can't shoot themselves in the foot and fail? Absolutely, they can. Then they have, and they will continue to do so on many times given the opportunity. We can't let the Democrats have the opportunity. We need to make sure that the vote gets out, that we target voters, that we register voters, that we make sure that the people are out there in such high numbers that they can't steal these elections and that it just backfires on them wholeheartedly. And when it does, I will laugh and laugh and laugh. Aquatic taste for bigger returns for Social Security tips and over. And there's the thing, though, when you look at the polling data when it came to, I think it was the Tennessee 7 district, none of that was at the top of the list. But people are very concerned with how, people are getting treated when it comes to ICE, when it comes to, you know, the there was somebody today in the New Orleans area, I think it was in Metairie, which is a suburb of New Orleans. She had to run home. She was 22 years old. She had to run home. She said she's a citizen. She ran into the house, and her stepfather had to come out. I think it was the stepfather. He had to come out, and he had to basically say, hey, you know, she is a citizen. So they had no reason to stop her other than the fact that she was Latina. She was a Latina. That's all that they're going on is by looks. And more people are getting more and more fed up with this administration and what they're doing. Now, granted, there are still, again, those 80%ers who are on the Facebook chats, you know, on these things. Well, did they come here legally? Well, maybe enough of these times? And I'm assuming some of these people are bots as well. That they're just, you know, sitting there writing the same thing over and over again. But then again, even before like AI bots were a thing, a lot of the people who are part of those mindless conservative folks, you know, not the conservatives that listen to Liberal Dan Radio talk from left, that's right, because at least they have somewhat discerning tastes, right? But, you know, you still had people just repeating the same lie over and over and over again. It's why I could do my trick. It's why I can do my magic trick with many conservatives when I talk about issues like with voting and voter ID. And I'll say I don't have a problem with a law like Wisconsin passed that just basically said, here's to the voters, whether or not you want to have an ID. It's all alone by itself. There's nothing else in the legislation. There's nothing else that's being passed. It's just on a voter ID, and it passed like 60-40 with the electorate. Simple as that. But the problem with these voter ID laws, again, is that they contain provisions that have nothing to do with the requirement to show an ID, and instead to change other things in the electoral process to make it harder for certain people to vote. And I'll even say, despite me saying this, there's going to be a conservative that comes into the chat or comes into the messaging or whatever, and who's going to say, what's wrong with showing an ID? And I'll be like, I just said I don't have a problem with that. And I even predicted that you would be that dumb, and yet you're still that dumb. It's really bad when they're that predictable. And so while I'm sure some of these people spreading this, you know, same sort of questions, did they come here legally? Did, whatever, follow the laws? If you just show your paperwork, you should be fine, this, that, the other. All of the typical regurgitated responses that everybody else is giving. I'm sure some of these are bots. I'm sure some of these are automated posts or whatever. But I'm sure a lot of other ones of these folks are just regurgitating the same thing they hear on OAN or Real America's Voice or Jeff Guerrero's show or all the other places that they might get their conservative, Fox News, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all the idiots that are out there, even if they're fighting amongst themselves, your Timmy Pool type folks or whatever. They are going to keep regurgitating the same crap over and over and over again. But maybe one of these days they'll actually read what's given, and maybe some of them will be, oh, well, maybe some people who are reading along who aren't even participating might be like, oh, I didn't realize that this administration is going after that many people who are not here in violation of our laws. And one can only hope that those people will wake up and smell the coffee before the next round of full-on elections, i.e. the midterm elections. I'm not going to hold my breath because we still have to get out there. We're better suited getting more people registered to vote, getting more people out to the polls who are new voters to try and get them to go after and prevent these horrific things from happening. But again, if we can still get out there and stop the disinformation that ICE is only going after people who are illegal. Nope, they're not. And I'm using their terminology in this particular thing because people aren't illegal. And in many circumstances, what you're dealing with is a civil infraction and not necessarily whatever. There was a case where you had an individual who, I think I saw this on a TikTok. There was one where she's married. He was here on a visa. And then I guess you overstayed the visa. But if you do marry somebody, that can help override the overstay the visa thing, and under U.S. policy, you're not supposed to then try and deport you. Instead, that can help you in aiding you get the green card. They were at a hearing about him getting his green card when ICE rolled up, took him away, and have him detained at this moment. they were planning a move. They were planning on moving from like San Diego to some other place, and but nope, that's on hold now because they had to go get somebody who was trying to do the right thing and trying to get properly documented, but they're preventing people from getting properly documented because that's their goal is not to prevent people from being here illegally. Their goal is to get people out of here who are not white. And that's the simple thing about it. And if the people who can't see this just need to listen to more Liberal Dan Radio Talk from Left That's Right, because we will go over all the circumstances and all the ways in which this administration is acting like a horrible, shitty administration, maybe even worse than we even gave it credit that it could be. I mean, you know, most of the people watching knew what that bad things were coming, but Jesus Christ, this is even more ridiculous. Let's see. Aquatic. The only way Republicans hold Congress is if the big, beautiful bill produces adults next year and gas continues to drop like it is currently. I mean, gas has been fluctuating for me. It's hard for me to tell in New Orleans about gas with gas prices because our gas prices are typically lower than the rest of the nation. Like when it was at like, you know, $3 a gallon, we were at $2.40 or something like that. So we get a little bit cheaper gas on here. But when it comes to those issues like the withholding of taxes on tips and overtime pay, just wait for that, because as you know, I've talked about before, they're going to find ways to manipulate the overtime rules and make it so that that you're less likely to get overtime. This is one of the things that Project 2025 spoke about when it went through all of the things. And one of the major things that we've covered on the show when talking about Project 2025 is that it doesn't matter if they eliminate the taxes on overtime, if they then change the overtime rules and make it so they can work you 80 hours in one week and 0 in the next week, and you can't qualify for overtime anymore. Because that's what they want to do. They even want to make it even worse. They want to spread it over a month and say, okay, over 4 weeks, if you work more than 160 hours, you then get overtime. So they could work you 100 hours in 1 week, 60 hours in the next week, like, you know, maybe Black Friday or, you know, week or whatever, or right after Christmas or the week of Christmas or whatever for all the returns and everything. Yeah, they could do that and then say, okay, after the beginning of the year, you can take off. You don't work the next 2 weeks. So when you would normally get a high amount of overtime pay because they want people to come in and work and they need all those hours worked, now they're not going to do that, and they're going to be able to get away with overworking people and you know, screwing them over, especially their families and stuff like that. This is what Project 2025 wants to implement, and we can't forget about the fact that they are, you know, their people are in this administration right now. After all the doubts, all of the, oh no, we don't know anything about Project 2025. Again, Agenda 47 was just Project 2025 for dummies. That's all it was. So, hey, Atrocious at Every Game, what's going on? Hey, Dean, good to see you. Hey, Bill, good to see you too. See, half my friends and family, Aquatic says, work overtime, so I guess it's anecdotal from person to person. Well, sure, but wait for them to change the overtime rules. That's my point. Is that they're going to change? They're going to change the overtime rules. At least that's what they want to do. That's what they've told us they want to do. And my concern is if they told us they want to do that, what do they really want to do? And there's also the rules on, you know, I think if you have the tax on the tips, at least, I think it's limited to a certain amount, and it's also based off of what you, I guess maybe if you claim. So you might have to itemize. And how many people who are low income, who get like rely on tips, or who are low to middle income, who are tipped employees, how many of those people itemize on their taxes? I've never itemized on my taxes, not once. It never made sense for me to itemize on my taxes. So I've never once done it. So anything that is like that deals with itemizations, like I believe this is, and look, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll be more than happy to admit that I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you have to itemize to get this. But even if you don't have to itemize it, there's still limits on how much you can get. And I think that people are going to be like, oh, this wasn't as great as he made it to seem, which is pretty much everything that he campaigns on, right? So all the guys that work for the small business I help manage get roughly 20 hours of overtime a week for 6 months out of the year. Their tax returns are going to be fat as that. Right. But here's the question. Also, all the guys that work for the small business that you help manage get 20 hours of overtime a week for 6 months out of the year. Then what happens if the Trump administration goes with what Project 2025 wanted to do, and they're able to change it so that those 20 hours of overtime are no longer counted as overtime pay? What happens if they can finagle it in such a way to make sure that, let's say, okay, they're doing they're doing a certain amount and they're reducing the amount of that you can work. You know what I mean? They're reducing the amount that a business is going to have to pay out. Or your business, is the business that you happen to run, are they going to keep the old rules, or are they going to go with the new rules? And if they go with the new rules, then the people that you know aren't going to get paid as much as they think they are. So that's the thing. And I said, yeah, itemization doesn't matter. Let's just look it up. Let's just search this up right now. I wasn't really planning on going into much detail on this one, but how does Trump's no tax on overtime? There you go. I finished it for me. No tax on overtime pay, complete guide for 2025 and beyond. So let's go ahead and close that. Let's see. On no tax on overtime bill, part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a tax reform package that became law on July 4th. Beginning of the 2025 tax year, the No Tax on Overtime Act lets workers below certain income thresholds deduct up to $12,500 in qualified overtime compensation from their federal income taxes. It's important to understand that this legislation doesn't end taxes on all overtime pay. It provides a tax deduction that can reduce the federal income tax burden on overtime earnings. Also, the exemption only applies to federal income tax, federal payroll tax, and flat tax. Split between employers and employees still apply to overtime compensation. So let's see. How does it work? No tax on overtime operates as a federal income tax deduction. Standard structure: workers below certain income thresholds can deduct up to $12,500 in qualified overtime expenses, $25,000 for joint filers from their federal taxable income. This deduction is taken when filing annual tax returns. The deduction phases out for those earning $150K or more, meaning higher income earners may receive reduced benefit or no benefit at all. Payroll tax considerations still complies. Withholding change for 2025 Senate bill requires no change in overtime tax withholding. Presumably no changes to W-4, although this may change future years. Hourly and salary employees, such as nurses, law enforcement, and first responders are the main beneficiaries. Be classified as non-exempt under Fair Labor Standards Act. Work more than 40 hours in a week at a rate not less than not less than time and one-half the regular rate of pay. Have Social Security number, meaning that some immigrants and those without proper documentation won't qualify. Salaried employees may also qualify, but their eligibility is more complicated. So this one is saying you'll get an increased take-home pay. But again, if you get to deduct $12,500 in your qualified overtime, and then let's see, what does Tax Act blog also say? So you can deduct up to $12,500. Single filer earns $8,000 and qualified overtime can deduct the full $8,000 since it's under the $12,500 cap. It's above the line, meaning you don't need to itemize. Okay, so there you go. You don't have to itemize, so it lowers your adjusted gross income directly. Your AGI was $60,000, and you deduct $5,000 overtime. Your AGI becomes $55,000. You have to have a Social Security number. You can't do married and filing separately. A married taxpayer with $10,000 of overtime and file separately cannot claim this deduction. Deduction begins to phase out for those of a modified adjusted gross income of $150,000. For every $1,000 over the MAGI limit, the deduction is reduced by $100. So a single filer with MAGI, adjusted gross income of $155,000, can claim a max deduction of $12,000 since they are $5,000 over the limit. Only the extra half above your base rate qualifies. So if your normal rate is 20 hours and you get paid $30 per hour, you only get to count the $10 per hour. You don't get to claim the other $20, which is what I anticipated, but I'm not sure how many of those people understand that. On all of the people who think, oh, all of the overtime pay, all of the pay that I get when I'm overtime is going to work. Nope, it's just the half only. It's not all $30 if you're getting 20 dollars an hour. It's only the $10 extra that you're getting. Tips earned during overtime hours do not qualify, but you might qualify for the supposed no tax on tips deduction. If you made $500 in tips while working overtime, those tips should be deducted under the no tax tips deduction rather than that. So again, will we see this administration start to change and start to push for a change in how overtime is calculated? Will these people really get to see a whole bunch of money? I am very questionable as to whether or not there's going to be that much benefit from this whatsoever. So it would be like getting a child tax credit on the way the mechanism works. Yeah, but again, so you're going to work, so let's say you work 60 hours in a week. So if you work 60 hours in a week, you're getting paid for 80 hours of work, but only, let's see, is it 80 hours? So 40 plus 60 is another, so another 20, so it's another 10. So you're getting paid for 70 hours of work. When you're doing 60 hours of work, you're getting paid for 70 hours of work, but only that 10 hours of work is going to count. So again, I don't know if it's going to be the windfall that he's trying to make it out to be. I anticipate there's going to be a lot of people going, you know what, if they say it saved me a little bit, but it really wasn't worth all this other stuff that's going on in this country right now. Like, deporting people who are here legally, detaining people who are here legally, the murder extrajudiciously of people in boats because you claim they were carrying drugs, and then the murder of another people who survived the initial hit, and they bomb again, even though they were no threat whatsoever to anybody at that point. Granted, they were no threat at that particular moment to anybody anyway, because they were just people in a boat, regardless of what their cargo was. And if you support what this administration is doing as it pertains to, bombing, boats because you think that they might have somebody in, and then you criticize Obama for his drone strikes, then, go F yourself because you're not being consistent. I wasn't a fan of, extrajudicious killing, regardless of what it is. Do sometimes military strikes come with casualties? Sure. But the only time an attack should be done, the only time you should take a life is to save somebody else's life. If it's important to save somebody else's life, if it's going to cause, less overall life loss in the grand scheme of things, and fine. Yes. But, you should be very careful in doing it. This administration doesn't seem to care about it at all. They want to use excuses to try and justify their murder of, and other maltreatment of black and brown people. So, Aquatic, it does not offset your taxes by 12 grand. It offsets your income by 12 grand if you have that much overtime pay worth of income. So then you have to figure out what's your tax rate on that. Your tax rate on whatever. Let's say you're at a 10%. Let's say you're in the 10% tax bracket. So if you're in a 10% tax bracket and you're able to basically say, hey, I had $12,500 exactly of overtime money that I got paid out to me, then that would save me $1,250. That would not save you $12,000 in taxes. It would only save you $1,250 worth of taxes, potentially. And that's if you manage to get that high up. So, hey, Bill, thank you for the remaining a liberal Danimal. Happy Daniversary to you. If the boat wasn't running straight at the Navy vessel, it should not have been attacked. I agree with you, Josh, 100%. And I don't think there was even a Navy vessel. I think it was just aircraft. It was an airstrike. And that's the thing. They should, if they wanted to actually be serious about this, and I was going to talk about this, I guess, a little later, but I'll talk about it now. If they wanted to be serious about this, what they would have done is they would have boarded some of these vessels at first and said, look, this is what are on these boats. Here's an example of what's on these boats. Here's the drugs. Look at them. We found them. They're under arrest. We've detained them. We're capturing them. And here's what's there. They don't want to be bothered to do that. They want to be, they just want to be able to bomb the hell out of everyone, and they just hope you believe them when they tell you. And I had an interesting thought today because they were talking about how, there's not much oversight, or there's less oversight of the Pentagon now, since a lot of the media organizations have refused to sign that they would not release any information that wasn't specifically allowed by the Pentagon to be released. So you don't have as much oversight on the Pentagon as you might have because, again, the media is now not allowed to go in there unless they sign that shitty document. But then consider it this way. we're still seeing what they want us to see. We're still seeing at least part of the bombings of these boats. Like, they could have just been like, no, we're not going to show you anything about this. But they're like, oh, look, here's what we just bombed this boat. And they're gambling on the idea that there's not going to be enough people in this country that are going to be mad at this administration for the actions that they're taking. And they're hoping that people are going to be like cheering them for killing the narco-terrorists, even though there's no proof that those people were narco-terrorists to begin with, despite the fact that he pardoned a narco-terrorist leader in Hernandez, who called him Your Excellency or whatever. But here's my idea. Here's what I'm thinking that could be something that's coming into play. I think this administration may very well be saying, hey, we are going to test the water here and show what we can show. And oh, look, here's what we're doing. Here are the horrible actions that we're doing in the name of your freedom. And then they're going to hope that enough people get behind the administration and say, yes, thank you, Trump. Thank you, everybody, for taking these actions. Because then you don't need to really worry about whether or not the media is showing it, because even if the media was like showing you, hey, this is what they're doing, they're hoping that the people will be like, yeah, and we voted for this, because that's what they keep saying for the horrible ICE actions. That's what they keep saying for a lot of the other things that this administration is doing that's horrible. So maybe they're just wanting you to be able to test the water and be like, hey, look, these people are cheering this. Now let's show a little bit more. Now let's show a little bit more to try and, I guess, desensitize us to be able to get used to it and then have enough people, but with their back saying, yes, we're going to keep cheering this administration for what they're doing because we support it, yada, yada, yada. And that's how Nazi regimes get to do what they want to do. Not because they're hiding the horribleness that they're doing, but because they're actually getting support from the populace for doing what they're doing. Like the whole thing with the Somali people, the people that are citizens who happen to be of Somali descent, the people who have come here legally and are legal permanent residents who are of Somali descent, the people who are here on green cards, the children of, Somali immigrants who are citizens because they were born here. They're now working on trying to get you to want this administration to get rid of every one of them, because that's what this president said he wants to do. He wants to get rid of all of the Somalis from this country. What does that sound like? What does that sound like to anybody who wants to sit here like, oh, this administration is doing nothing wrong? They're demonizing an entire population of people in this country. That's Nazi bullshit. No ifs, ands, or buts. And they're doing it out in the open. They're saying the quiet part out loud. And yes, there are people that are calling them out on it, myself, some people in the media, other individuals who, understand, morality and understand, history and how this type of stuff grows and how this type of stuff turns into stuff that's even worse. Like, Nazis, what Nazis do. That's why we got to keep yelling about it. We have to absolutely keep yelling about the horrible actions of this administration, because if it goes unchallenged, they're going to keep thinking that they have tacit approval from the majority of the population who are unwilling to fight back against that. So you have to fight back every opportunity, against every illegal ICE action, against every attempt to deport Somali citizens now and try and get rid of them and prevent, people from coming here, seeking refuge. Everything that this administration is doing as it pertains to black and brown people is morally abhorrent, and people honestly should really reconsider those. And look, and if you're getting one of those tax benefits, if you do see on your taxes, if you get the full, $1,250 tax benefit from working overtime, and you think to yourself, yeah, I'm happy to get that money, it's definitely worth murdering people in boats who this administration has labeled narco-terrorists. If you're saying that money is definitely worth targeting individuals who are black and brown people who live here, who are legally working here, who are legally residing here, who are citizens here, but just because they look like they might be Hispanic, oh, that's fine because I get $1,250. If you're fine with saying all Somalis here are bad people because you're getting $1,250, you're a terrible person. There is no amount of money that you could pay me to justify these actions. If this administration came down and said, or Donald Trump came down, or one of their, Peter Thiel or whatever came in and said, look, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year so that you can be a mouthpiece for this administration, and you can sit here and justify and say how wonderful this administration is for doing all of these things that we've just went over, with the Somalians, with the extrajudicial killings in the boats in the Caribbean and other places, with the the deportation by ICE of individuals who are here regardless of their status legally. I tell them, go fuck themselves. Because no amount of money can justify the murder of people. No amount of money can justify Nazi actions. So if you're willing to be, teased, or if you're willing to be coaxed over to the bad side for a mere $1,250, you have no morals, you have no ethics. Not one bit. And if you claim to be a Christian afterwards, maybe you should go to find a different church, because they're failing you completely. What I miss? Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, atrocious at every game. Great endorsement, Teamsters. I mean, that was just dumb, too, because anybody who thinks that Donald Trump is for the working man, no, they're not. He's no billionaire or self-professed billionaire. I'm sure now he's a billionaire because of all of the shenanigans him and his family has done with all the crypto crap. No billionaire can be trusted to be supportive of labor, especially if you're a billionaire capitalist. It's like say, the Teamsters are endorsing Elon. Fuck off. Donald Trump was praising Elon for union busting at his corporation, at Tesla or whatever, or maybe it was SpaceX. I don't know. But Elon Musk was union busting at one of his companies, and Donald Trump was like, "That's good. I like how you did that." It's ridiculous. Remember when Biden signed an executive order expanding the amount of people who are in OT? Good times. Yeah. But I'm waiting. I am waiting for the overtime rules to change to make sure that now all that overtime that you thought you were getting, now you're not getting it anymore, because that's what Project 2025 said. Atrocious and everything also. But the Young Turks said Project 2025 wasn't Trump's plan. Yeah, because there are many so-called fact checkers who claim that Project 2025 wasn't Trump's plan at all. And yeah. Many so-called fact checkers suck because some of these fact checkers are like, well, I can't make logical conclusions from the facts that I'm seeing. A equals B and B equals C. According to the rules of math, A equals C. But if Donald Trump's plan says A and A equals B, and then the Project 2025 said C, and then B equals C, then they're going to say, oh, well, you can't say it's the same thing because they didn't say it in the exact same way. That's why the fact checkers are helping stupefy. It used to be that fact checkers were a great thing, and sometimes they still do a fine job. But sometimes they're too afraid, I guess, of getting sued, so they want to be like, well, it didn't specifically say that. It didn't. Project 2025 didn't say that they were going to get rid of the NOAA. They just wanted to break everything up from it and then, move it to other departments and then make it so that it's less feasible, so that at the end of the day, you basically end up with a killed NOAA. But you can't say that if you're a fact checker, because it didn't specifically say we want to get rid of the NOAA, even though the end result of what they want to do would end the NOAA. Because you're not allowed to use your brain. Hey, Primitive Icon, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Aquatic, so maybe instead of being snooty and snide, tell me why people who make less going more back on taxes is a bad thing. What I'm saying is that, I don't know if you're talking to me or talking to anybody else, but I'm basically saying that if you're willing to get the $1,250, knowing what this administration is doing, if you can be bought off for $1,250, you're not a good person. Simple as that. I don't know how to explain it any other way. If you're happy with people getting murdered in the sea, or you're not even willing to speak up out against people getting murdered on the high seas because you're getting $1,250, and I'd really like to see the numbers on it at some point. Like, I'd love to see, after people file all of their taxes next year, how many people actually got all $1,250. What is the real impact of this? So, to Jan Bank, socialism was great for the huge bank bailout. Socialism was great for people like Musk, but God forbid it should help and assist the 99%. Exactly. I'm more concerned about my neighbors than drug runners in a boat. And, you know, I'm concerned about my neighbors as well. But I'm concerned that my neighbors some of my neighbors might get picked up by ICE and deported. So if you're happy with your neighbors getting picked up and deported, and who are here legally because they happen to speak Spanish or happen to look Hispanic, hey, I have a friend of mine who literally works for an immigration office here in the New Orleans metropolitan area, like in a law firm that handles immigration. I'm not an immigration office, a law firm that handles immigration. They came to the work today. They came into work. Oh, we have a warrant. Show me it. Well, we don't have it on us. Well, then you don't have a warrant. They want to hope that you don't understand the law. And I don't understand why they're so dumb to think they could just show up to a law firm and not understand that the people at the law firm are going to understand the law. Especially an immigration law firm. Those would be the first people who would be told. Every single employee. I mean, I don't work there. I don't know. But I'm making a reasonable assumption that if you work for a law firm that specializes in immigration issues, that you are going to know the exact right things to say to ICE to prevent them from coming into the office. And to prevent them from doing things above and beyond what they're legally allowed to do via a judicial warrant. So 500,000 people in this country, again, have been told, who were here legally under humanitarian parole, have been told that they are no longer here legally because of a stroke of Donald Trump's pen. And now they all have to leave. What if they can't afford to leave? They were here legally. You know, conservatives again say, if you don't want to be picked up by ICE, be here legally. Nope, that doesn't matter, because Donald Trump just said to 500,000 people, F y'all, you have to self-deport or else you get in trouble. So if you are somebody who is willing to accept $1,250 and just be like, oh, but that's fine. Okay. That's why I was like, look, I would love to have to pay less taxes. I would love to have more take-home pay in my paycheck every week. It would greatly help me out. Clearly, I would love to have that. I would love it. But not at the expense of other people's safety. Not at the expense of other people being treated as if they're less than human. I can't be bought like that. So, see, the real Georgia, but those who do it well, also the senior population, so Social Security as well as tips. But the senior population, they want to get rid of Social Security. The conservative idea is to take Social Security and throw it into the stock market. Like, they don't like Social Security. That's one of their things that they want to target. So, also Dura, wait until ICE reinforcements are cleared, 10,000 of them. Yeah, and you know who's getting paid money? People who work for ICE. Because there's, 40,000 worth of bonuses for every ICE employee, for every new hire? They can get a bonus of 40 grand. How about them apples? Yeah, Daniel Baker. Today I found out the autopen was invented in 1807, right after Trump flew his first fighter jet mission in the Revolutionary War. I mean, I did talk about that yesterday on the show, Dean. I did say how there are only a very few amount of presidents who didn't use the autopen. I think that includes Washington and Adams and I think Harrison, because I think Harrison's administration was short or whatever. But yeah. Hold on, Jan Morgan says small businesses are now paying from $4,000 to $27,000 a year for a mathematical challenge. It's a 500% increase. Wait, for what? For what specifically? Let's see. Chad. I'm not talking about what they want to do. I'm talking about the 2026 tax season, and if the big beautiful bill kicks in and works, game over. Again, how works? Define works though. That's the thing. Works, because people are gonna. Let's do this math too. Again. Sometimes I'm not planning on talking about things in the show, but what is the median income for an hourly employee who works overtime? I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with that. There's no single median income for hourly overtime because it's heavily on your base rate industry, how many hours work, but overtime pay starts at 1.5, blah, 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 so working, blah, 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 blah. Base rate is key. That's not what they want. I guess a healthcare worker's median income rate might be about $25 an hour, while a general assembler's might be $24 an hour. These are averages for those specific roles, not the nation median income overall. Average earnings, while median hourly rates vary, the effective hourly rate when factoring overtime hours can be much higher. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So if you worked, let's say if you got $25 an hour. Let's use that as a key, right? Let's use $25 an hour. And so we can pull that up. Calculator. $25 an hour times 40 hour, actually no, times, again, we said if you're working overtime, let's say you're working 20 hours of overtime every week for the entire year. So that's, again, so 40 hours overtime plus 20, so you're working 70 times 25 normally times 52. That's 91 grand. So 2025 tax tables. And then let's see. So you have, and then we also need to know the 2025 standard deduction. Standard deduction for a single person is $15,750. So in reality, we're gonna have to put this down on a notepad as well, because we're doing math today, folks, because we're forcing me to do some math. So 52 weeks normally would be 91 grand base pay that you would get normally speaking, but if you're working overtime and you're getting to write off the amount of overtime pay that you're getting, you're effectively getting 60 hours of pay. It's as if it was 60 hours of pay times 70. That's right. 60 times 25 times 52. Let's do it again. 60 times 25 times 52 equals 78. So that's a difference of 91,000 hold on. 91,000. I'm doing the math wrong. Hold on, let's do it one more time. 91,000 minus 78,000 is 13,000, which is wrong, because now I'm wrong, because if you work 52 weeks a year at that pay, you're at $13,000 difference. So in reality, it's not. You can only write off 20. You can only write off 12,500. So you're just over your thing. So in reality, instead of 78,000, it's 78,500 is what your salary is. Now, if you're at 91,000 and then your standard deduction is 11, so let's just say it's 1,200 just to make it easy. So 91, 81, 79,000. And then if you're at 78.5, then again that's 12,000. So that's 62.5. So it's a difference of income again in that much money. So then what is your tax tables are going? What are your tax tables going to be at that point? So that's not even the right one. It's 15, not 12. So I did that wrong. So 76 or 16. So 73. I'm sorry, $75,000. I was looking at the wrong thing. And then 78,000 would be 500 would be 63, 62, 75, 750. All right, so again, writing that off, and then we're going to look at what the tax rates of those two incomes would be. Tax table calculator. If you're single, 2025 taxable income would be 75,000. Your income tax would be 11,414. If you are single and your taxable income is 6275, 62,750. Because I'm being very stubborn now. When I get this is 8,000. 719. So that is 11,414 minus 8,719. So 2,500 is what you would get in that particular case, because even though the rate is 10%, the first X amount of income that you get is already taxed at less income. So unless you're just looking at the tables, because you're in the 10% tax bracket from anything between 11,000 to 48. You're in the 12% anything for, or I'm sorry, you're in 10% from 0 to 11,925. You're in 12% from 11,900 to 48. You're in 22% from 28. So yeah, you're in the money you're losing is from the 22% tax bracket at that point, if that's your income. So if you're making $25 an hour and getting overtime, you're saving like $2,700. So again, my morals, my ethics cannot be bought for $2,700. I just got to the bottom line, Susie. I had to do the math to get to the bottom line. So yeah, this is there's clearly other things that could come into play. Because for example, let's say you're making let's say on both of those cases, if you're making 78,000 whatever, and you as your adjusted gross income, but let's say first of all you have health insurance that you're paying for out of that. So let's say, if you're paying for health insurance premiums and whatever your health insurance premiums might be, let's say your health insurance premiums for your as an individual, let's say they're $500 a month. So then that gets written off pre-tax. So then instead of being at 78, you're now at 72. And then let's say you put money into an FSA account. So let's say that's another 15 or 17 or 18 on top of that. So then it's even more money that comes off, so it's no longer taxable income. So, and then you get further and further down and you reduce your taxable income, so the amount of money they actually save might not actually be that amount of money anyway. Okay, Susie, that's fine. But I wanted to get to the brass tacks. I wanted to do the math for you so we can have a full-on understanding of what this could potentially mean. And that assumes that somebody is getting an hourly wage of $25 an hour. How many people, I don't know what the people on average make at the company that you work at, Chad, but we've already kind of determined that if you work 20 hours of overtime every week for 52 weeks, that already gives you over the amount of money that you can claim. But let's say, you're not working 25, let's say you're making $12 an hour. Cut all those numbers in half, and then the amount you're saving is much, much less. So again, it helps the lowest income people the least. And it helps some people who may be, mid to upper class. It may help those people a little bit more, especially if you're married, because then you get to write off even more of it. So if you're married and somebody's, working at home or not working and they're staying at home or whatever, or if they don't have the great, big job, but then you can then write off more. You can write off double basically because you're married. So there's a whole bunch of variables that come into play when it comes to this. But at the end of the day, again, I think my point still stands, which is that regardless of how much money an individual can save off of this, like, I'm not going to begrudge anybody for, for accepting money that, that they need, but you can't win my vote by telling me that I'm going to make more money, but as a result of me making more money, I have to have a president who bombs people in the middle of the ocean without proof that they're actually bad people, who deports people from this country without any proof that they're bad people. You're not going to convince me. Again, there's no amount of money that you can pay me that's going to make me sacrifice those values. And if you know people who can be bought, then maybe those people aren't worth having in your life. Because I wouldn't want somebody in my life who would be happy with what ICE is doing, with what Border Patrol is doing, with the bait and switch of the 500,000 people here on humanitarian parole, with all of the other stuff that's going on with the Filipino cruise ship workers, with all the other people who are here legally, with citizens having to be chased down the street and have to run into their houses for protection because ICE is coming after them because they look like they might be Hispanic, despite the fact that they have no evidence. They're basically wanting to grab first, ask questions later, if at all. And most of the time, I don't think they even worry about asking questions, even though the Supreme Court told them 9-0 that they have to ask questions, that they have to give them the ability. Aquatic point is, being a lot of people getting fatter taxes is not about winning more votes. It's politics and to save you money for the base. But again, if your vote can be bought, if you can be convinced to continue voting for Republicans because you're getting a little more money in your wallet, knowing what this administration is doing. Now, granted, there is about 80% of the Republican Party who are still supporting Trump, who have their heads buried in the sand, who are like, you know what, I don't give a crap about what he's doing. Or even worse, this is what I voted for. Then yeah, there's going to be a problem. Jeff, yeah, I wish it wasn't. Isn't there a song that goes like this? Oh, yes. Oh, Lord, it's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. That song? Yes, I'm aware of that song. Yeah, Kimchi, and that is a brilliant point, Kimchi. Thank you for bringing that up, because in all my ranting, I didn't even think of that one, but it's a great point, Kimchi, which is that your tax cut, i.e., you're getting $2,700 maybe. In my situation, in my calculation example, you are getting $2,700 more money back from your taxes, but you've paid tariffs on everything this year that has made everything go up. So then count those tariffs into it. And that's, again, he's hoping that he doesn't have people who are going to be smart enough to realize, well, okay, I brought home more money on the backside or after when I filed my taxes because it was written off as overtime, but I'm still paying more in tariffs. So what's that math? What has the average family of 4 paid in tariffs last in 2025? It's probably not going to give me anything. It's probably don't even have a good one. Okay, there you go. The average U.S. household is estimated to have paid between $2,400 and $4,900 in additional costs due to tariffs in 2025 by the Yale Budget Lab. So average cost. Most analysis converge on an average annual cost for a typical household of around $2,400 to $3,800 as a result of price increases because of tariffs. Some are higher. Median cost per household is estimated to be between $2,200 to $2,500. So if that situation, if that guy was single, if that guy was married, or that guy, whoever the person is, if they're married, they get the extra $500, but still, they're not getting the amount that they've saved because they haven't taxed overtime has now been trampled by the amount that you've now had to pay out because of, you're buying things that are being tariffed. So again, but how can you explain that to a low education voter? How can you explain that to the people that Donald Trump said he loved after the 2016 Nevada primaries? They're going to be like, oh, here's my more money, but you've been paying more than that all year, and you're just maybe getting it back. Oh, and then maybe if you get to $200, $2,000 a person, maybe that offsets it even more. But even then, you're not really coming out ahead. So, I know Costco ain't happy with the tariffs either. Of course they're not. Hey, Wunder Mom over there. Good to see you. Over there. And Christine over on YouTube. Thank you. Let's see. I don't think I said hello to Bethany. Hello. Hey, Bethany. How's it going? I don't even know if I said hello to Jeff from just north of Uranus. How was Uranus, by the way, Jeff? You did say you were going there. So how was Uranus today? When do I get my MAGA bucks? I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to convert currency to MAGA bucks or whatever. I mean, he already has the Trump coin crypto, right? So there you go. Suzanne, thank you for joining us. Have a good night. Appreciate you. So not just that, but keeping the tax rates low in conjunction. It's not just one piece. That's why I say y'all better hope he fails because the tax rate. Well, I want him to fail not because of the tax issues. I want him to fail because of the other issues. Like, I mean, yeah, the tariffs are dumb. The tariffs, he's stupid about tariffs. But he's also a racist and a bigot. And, you know, as J.D. Vance said, America's Hitler. So, yeah. That's the thing. That's the question here. Are your morals more important than your pocketbook? Are your morals more important than your wallet? Are your morals more important than your checking account? If you can be bought off to support a guy and to continue to support the party, because you say it was paid for in the 2024 election, but the 2026 elections are coming up, and if you send the Democrats to the Congress, you can help stop all of this bullshit. But if you're unwilling to remove Republicans who are supporting all of these terrible actions with ICE, with the Bob extrajudicial killings, etc. If you're happy to continue supporting that because you're getting a little more extra money in your pocket, that you think at least, you think you're getting more money in your pocket because of smoke and mirrors, you're not a moral person, no matter how much you claim to be a Christian or not. So, all right, let's real quick on this. Oh, that's not what I wanted to look for. Where is... There it is. Let's just move this real quick over here to this side. Cover up some of this crap that's right here. All right, so this is the ruling from the state today, or at least the dissent from the unsigned ruling today, because we're getting those these days. Obviously, the three justices, Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson, joined together dissenting from the grant of the application of a stay over the Texas ruling. Over the course of 3 months, a three-judge district court in Texas undertook to resolve the factual dispute at issue. An application in enacting an electoral map slanted towards Republicans. Did Texas predominantly use race to draw its new district lines? Or said otherwise, did Texas accomplish its partisan objective by a racial gerrymander? The district court conducted a 9-day hearing involving testimony of 24 witnesses and the introduction of thousands of exhibits. It sifted through the resulting factual record spanning 3,000 pages. It assessed the credibility of each of the witnesses it had seen and heard in the courtroom, and after considering all the evidence, it held that the answer was clear, that Texas largely divided its citizens along racial lines to create new pro-Republican House maps in violation of the Constitution's 14th and 15th Amendments. The court issued a 160-page opinion recounting in detail its factual finding, yet this court reverses that judgment based on its perusal over a holiday weekend of a cold paper record. We are a higher court than the district court, but we are not a better one when it comes to making such fact-based decisions. That's why we're supposed to use a clear error standard of review, why we're supposed to uphold the district court's decision that race-based line drawing occurred, even if we would have ruled differently, so long as it's plausible. Without so much as a word about that standard, the court today announces that Texas may run next year's elections with a map the district court found to have violated all our oft-repeated strictures about the use of race in districting. Today's order disrespects the work the district court did, and did everything one could ask to carry out its charge, that put aside every consideration except getting the issue before it right. And today's order deserves disserves the millions of Texans who the district court found were assigned to the new districts based on their race. Because of this, court's precedents and our Constitution demand better. I respectfully dissent. Yada, yada, yada. With so little to show for its effort, the Trump administration switched tracks, converting political importunity to legal demand. Yada, yada, yada. Plaintiffs here challenge Texas's new map as a racial gerrymander. The law respecting a racial gerrymander claim is well settled. Texas's only defense to the racial gerrymander claim is that there is no such gerrymander happened. In other words, don't believe the man behind the curtain, as I'm saying. In other words, Texas does not assert a compelling interest in drawing lines based on race. Texas has never argued in this litigation that the DOJ letter was right, that it had to redistrict according to race in order to correct an existing legal violation. And Texas, of course, does not contend that the pursuit of partisan advancement is in itself a compelling interest. It is not. All Texas ever said in response to the plaintiff's suit is that race had nothing to do with its redistricting process. According to the response to the suit, is that race had nothing to do with it. According to the state, the officials acted only to protect Republican incumbents in the House and to pick up additional 5 predictably Republican seats. In particular, Texas says racial data never entered into the line drawing process. District courts then was to basically decide, well, who's full of shit and who's not full of shit. In support of the conclusion, the district court described 3 types of direct evidence cumulatively strong that race had played a predominant role. First, what triggered the redistricting process was the administration reframing the request to do partisan redistricting in exclusively racial terms. Here, the crucial fact was the DOJ letter. That letter, to be sure, did not specify exactly how Texas should rectify and correct its supposedly illegal coalition districts, but the court explained that there is only one way to remedy a district whose only objectionable characteristic is that no single racial group constitutes a 50% majority, is to redraw the district so that a racial group constitutes a 50% majority. DOJ letter thus imposed a 50% racial target for Texas to meet when redrawing certain districts. Second, the district court described how the governor promptly asked the legislature to give the DOJ the racial rebalancing it wanted, yada, yada, yada. And third, the district court found the legislatures, including the redistricting bill's primary sponsors, repeatedly spoke in the same way. They suggested that they had intentionally manipulated the districts to create more majority Hispanic and majority black districts. At 3, the legislator who introduced the bill, for example, crowed, "We created 4 out of 5 new seats to have a Hispanic majority." I would say that's great. That doesn't ensure that a political party wins them, but the Hispanic 4 out of 5 Hispanic majority out of those new districts, that's a pretty strong message, but it's good, yada, yada. So again, they talked about ethnicity, if not racial guidelines or whatever, but at the end of the day, the district court found that they basically trampled all over this gerrymandering map with racial lines, and the Supreme Court basically said, nope, we don't believe you. We're going to stick our heads in the sand. F y'all. Good night. And hopefully, the only thing I can hope for at this point, or that we can hope for at this point, is that while their map redraw will be successful, that their map redraw will be successful in that they will have new lines, but those new lines will hopefully make it easier for leftists, liberals, progressives, and center-left folks, or even folks on the center who disagree with this administration, what they're doing, to basically say, we're going to give you a new Congress that you now have to negotiate with in order to get things done. That's pretty much what has to be done. So we're not going to go into too much more detail on that one, because we do want to go over this other one as well, and this one might take a little bit longer than normal. Let's see, what am I missing here? I missed something, I think. Let's see, just got letters that I'm due from my OBGYN and a colonoscopy exam. Should I just bring beer and invite all the docs to the party? Yeah. Go ahead. Let's see. The docs need to coordinate and you'll just have a foursome.
Oh my.
I'm all for that, right? Christine, wouldn't it be my first time? TMI?
Oh my.
No. I think we might need more information, but that might need to be something that we save for Liberal Dan After Dark. So if you're ready for that, come on, when we start doing Liberal Dan After Dark, hop on board. We can talk about that, right? Anyway. Let's see. Letty Jake, yeah, we need to expand SCOTUS when we take back everything. The fact that we didn't do it when Biden was in charge also pissed me off a good bit. So, oh God, big hook. Ask for an endoscopy to qualify for the holy trinity of medical exams in one go. That's how you get to the foursome, eh? Just have to keep going.
Oh my.
That's just a couple extra oh my's in the thing. So, but yes, Susie, I am seeing your comments. It's just sometimes when I'm doing my live reads, I'm not necessarily looking. But again, some people all have it on top and not live chat because it stupidly defaults to top chat, which is dumb. So, Christine, you have no idea. See ya after dark. Will do. One more.
Oh my.
Anyway, so let's pop this on open here. Oh Jesus, this is gonna be fun. Oh wait, there's that. Let's prove this. Do we want to cover Piro's head? I don't know. Whose head do we want to cover? We'll just keep this over here as it stands so we can see all of the ugly black-hearted people in this picture. And this is a good long video. We're gonna record a good bit of it. Let's see. Anyway, so here is the press conference about the pipe bomb arrest, and I think Jeanine Pirro is here looking. Is there a bar over in that direction? Is there a bar over there somewhere? Like, is she like scoping out what she's gonna have to drink afterwards? I don't know. And him, I think he's looking like he just found out that his girlfriend's still on Tinder. Like that's what I think he's looking at right now. But let's go ahead and listen to what Pam Blondie and all the other insane sycophants in the Trump administration have to say.
Discuss that shortly. This was the work of multiple agencies working together. This morning's operation was carried out safely and successfully. We know that there are so many.
There are. I mean, does she have a teleprompter in front of her? I mean, yeah, sometimes it's hard to stumble over words, but still, Jesus.
Many issues when you're issuing search warrants. Dangerous things can happen, and this was carried out safely and securely thanks to all of the people standing around me. They have worked tirelessly on this. Today,
so tirelessly that Kash Patel made sure that his girlfriend had extra, protection from the FBI, right? Maybe? I don't know.
This arrest happened because the Trump administration has...
Jolie's why does Cash's face also laugh? Maybe just permanent constipation. It's possible that could be why. It's that he just looks like he just has to take a massive dump, or maybe he has diarrhea and he can't figure out how to hold it in. I don't know.
Made this case a priority. The total lack of movement on this case in our nation's capital undermined the public trust of our enforcement agencies. This
did it now.
Cold case languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came.
I'm sure if you go into that, that'll probably, and you go into the details of the investigation, that it didn't languish for 4 years. Guarantee that it didn't languish for 4 years. They're just trying to lie about it and take credit for work that was done before them that they don't want to allow Biden to take credit for. But, let's continue.
To the FBI. The FBI, along with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our prosecutors, have worked tirelessly for months.
How many times does she say tirelessly in this video? I don't know. Maybe there's a lot. Who knows? I would say let's do a drinking game for how many times she says tirelessly, but that would just be reckless with Jeanine Pirro on stage.
Sifting through evidence that had been sitting at the FBI with the Biden administration for 4 long years. Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness.
There was just the tip.
Just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work, working as a team along with...
And look, if they actually do something right for once and actually, get somebody, the correct person, if they actually get somebody convicted. I mean, look, they tried to indict Letitia James, and that failed today. You're supposed to be able to indict a ham sandwich, and they can't even get that right. Are they going to get this right? If this is the real person, what are the odds that they bungle this? And it screws up and he walks free, because this administration is full of idiots and morons who don't understand how the law works. But let's continue.
With ATF, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police.
Oh, now they care about Capitol Police? Shocking.
Police Department, and of course, the FBI. We are working every day to restore the public's trust. We
Are you? You haven't done a good job with most of the people in this country, I don't think, because of Donald Trump's approval rating, but
hope that today is a significant step towards that progress.
if this is South Park, more brown would be coming on her nose right now.
We'll share more information when we can and when it unfolds. I cannot stress enough how hard Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino have worked for months to make our nation's
I can't understate how hard they are. What? Oh no, wrong type of.
capital safer and to make our country safer.
Oh my.
I'd like to introduce now Director Patel.
And maybe we won't watch the whole thing because the main part that I wanted to watch was mostly Kash Patel's crap. So we'll see how long this goes. But this is just let's continue.
With AI,
Oh,
You
of
can
course we get an
create any
ad.
character you want in seconds.
this used to require huge Hollywood.
Thank you, General. When you attack
Is it weird to me? Is it weird to y'all that he called her general? Like, she's the attorney general, but have you ever heard somebody refer to the attorney general as general? Like, to me, that's weird. Like, to me, that's not something that's. Of course, we never hear. You're not supposed to call the president your excellency either, but that's what Hernandez did. So maybe they're changing what. Maybe they're calling it the Department of War now. So what else are they changing?
American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital.
Let's
Director
rewind this
Patel.
again because this is important. This is an important part.
Thank you, General. When you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. And
Didn't these people all say that these people on January 6th did nothing? Like, one person puts out a pipe bomb in front of the two major political party headquarters in D.C., and they're shitting bricks. 1,600 people invade the damn Capitol building and attack our, houses of legislation, and they want to make excuses for them. This president pardons them. So where was this fervor? Where was this zeal? Where was this concern about our, where we have legislation and the nation's capital and the seat of power? Where was the concern about that when it was your sycophants that were doing that? The only reason they're doing this is because they think they can score political points against Biden. And probably also because they probably think that they could do enough job to say this wasn't a MAGA person, and as such, we're not going to take heat from it, even if they have to manipulate the data to do it. But, I mean, if I was doing a Hypocrite of the Week this week, maybe I'll just make it for Monday. This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Kash Patel because of what he just said just there. It's mind-blowingly stupid how they can say those words in the aftermath of the January 6th insurrection.
this FBI and this Department of Justice stand here to tell you that.
Yeah, it was a day of love. But I guess this was a January 5th, even though they colloquially refer to him as the Jan 6th pipe bomber or whatever. This was January 5th, so I guess that's why it's not part of the day of love, right?
We will always refute it and combat it. We will provide the safest country.
We will always refute it and combat it unless they're attacking police officers at the Capitol in defense of Donald Trump, trying to lawlessly keep his office. Then they're not going to fight it. But otherwise, they'll fight it. But if it hurts the president, they're not going to fight it at that point.
The nation has ever seen under President Trump's leadership here. And that's what we did here today with great resolve on a case of massive public importance, as it should be. An individual.
It should have also been public importance to keep people who assaulted cops on January 6th, locked up and put in prison. But, we all know where that went.
Individual who's now alleged to have placed multiple explosive devices to blow up multiple.
Jeff, Kash is seeing two women at the same time. Literally. Wow. That's deserving of a.
Multiple people, like multiple officials, innocent civilians, is now arrested thanks to the brave men and women.
Now keep in mind, nobody died. No one was harmed because of this. People were literally harmed on January 6th, so they don't give a shit. But this performative bullshit is just bullshit. Anybody who's falling for this crap is just, you must be on some hardcore mind-altering substances. Hardcore.
Women of the FBI and the interagency. I want to take a moment to thank the Metropolitan Police Department, the United States Capitol Police, our brave prosecutors.
Except for the Capitol Police officers that we screwed over, but, you know, they're not going to thank them. They'll thank the rest of them, I guess, right?
The Department of Justice, and our leader, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, whose relentless work on this case made this possible. As the Attorney General said, we did not discover any new information. What we did, an investigation spearheaded by the Deputy Director and the ADIC of our Washington field office, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, sifted through all the data, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do. As a result of that, we generated...
And of course, there's no evidence of that. They could have been completely sifted and sorted through, and they just did it again just to whatever. Or they might have just unsorted it just so they could resort it. Again, I don't trust this administration at all, and you shouldn't either. So every time, that's the problem. Conservatives, I mean, you have to first believe that somebody actually told a lie to actually, you know, have this apply. But again, many conservatives hear the story about the boy who cried wolf and think the moral of the lesson, or the moral of the story is, if somebody's lying to you, you should still believe them just in case they're telling the truth again in the future. When in reality, if somebody lies to you repeatedly, you should no longer believe them. That's the actual story. Or the moral story is tell the truth so that people believe you when it's important.
Created numerous investigative leads, executed multiple legal process with their U.S. attorney partners, and
Chef Gary, the song Betty Davis Eyes makes song Kash Patel's Eyes. He's got Kash Patel's eyes, and he'll see you at the same time as seeing you. Or something like that.
Came to this conclusion today, and that is why we were able to safely secure...
Today, I'm sure the conclusion wasn't made today. I'm sure the conclusion was made prior, and they made plans to get to the person who was seized today. But, you know, assuming it's the right person, which, you know, again, they can't even indict Letitia James again. So, and you can indict ham sandwiches. So,
this individual into custody. Remember, we are dealing with an individual who is alleged to have made bombs. We cannot do this sort of takedown in haste because it endangers the lives of...
I thought he just said we did it today. Now he says you can't do it in haste. And now he's criticizing the Biden administration for taking 4 years to, you know, and doing nothing with it. But again, it can't be done in haste. So which is it? Again, another example of this administration in this administration's inability to keep their story straight.
Law enforcement. And this FBI will never allow the lives of law enforcement and our prosecutors to be put in jeopardy.
Funny. Considering the fact that this administration pardoned people who assaulted cops. But, you know, don't let the facts get in the way of you making a bullshit point.
This execution was...
Yeah, exactly, Jeff. No haste, tell ICE that. Yeah, absolutely. ICE is acting in much haste. Although, I guess the people that ICE are grabbing are not people who built bombs. The people that ICE are grabbing are people that build houses.
Lawless in terms of teamwork, resilience, and just a good old-fashioned way of police getting the job done. When you let good cops be cops, this is what happens. I'm eternally grateful to the team.
And no black people died. Shocking.
Behind me, to the leadership at the FBI who made this possible. But I do want to highlight, when I introduced the deputy, he made this case and so many others, including Summer Heat, his priority to come in here and solve it for the American people. And today, I'm proud to stand here before you and say, we solved it. He will have his day in court. The American public and the world will learn even more information through the legal process. As we have committed under this Attorney General, we are the most transparent law enforcement operation
Yeah.
in U.S. history.
Transparently racist. If that's the transparency you wanted. And I'm waiting for him to like, now we want to bring on board, now bring on stage Dan Bongholio, and he'll be like, I need TP for my butthole. Sorry, had to do it.
We are also going to make sure accountability is delivered to its fullest extent, and that happens in the courts of law with our U.S. attorneys and our prosecutors. So we will...
And in the courts of law where you can't even indict somebody that you've had your sights on for a while. But, you know, hey, who am I to judge, right?
divulge information when it is prudent and constitutionally permissible, while upholding the safeguards of this case to make sure that the people that this individual intended to victimize get the accountability they deserve. And
Yeah, we are the most transparent administration in law enforcement ever, but you can't release anything from the Pentagon unless, we tell you it's okay. Yeah, as Josh says, if you have to say it. Yeah, exactly. If you have to say, trust me, guys, we're really transparent. No, don't look over there. Don't look over there. But we're. Oh, I'm like touching something about. That did not look right. Once I looked at it in frame. Ugh.
most importantly, to deliver on President Trump's promise.
I mean, Pam might be used to that because, I'm sure Donald Trump is likely to have grabbed by the hoo-ha, right? Because that's what he likes to do. Anyway.
To secure our nation's capital and the rest of the cities in this country to make sure that Americans are allowed to go out free and securely in their neighborhoods.
Americans go out free in their neighborhoods as long as they're white. As long as they're not Hispanic or Filipino or somebody else that we're trying to deport. They're free to go out in their communities, right? With my eyes, big crazy open like this and one of them this way.
And that people around the world are allowed to visit our nation's capital.
Unless they're not white.
And they now have that trust, thanks to the leadership of the FBI, the Washington Field Office, and I'm honored now to introduce to you Deputy Director Bongino, who spearheaded this investigation.
I am Cornholio.
Thank you all for being here for this critical investigation we've been working on for a very long time. We deeply appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, Attorney General and Director. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Because my job's on the line, so thank you. I appreciate it. I need to grift some more.
Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who...
Bureau looks bored as F. No, it looked like just then. Let me slide back a second or two. Because it looked like something else.
Thank you all for being here for this critical investigation we've been working on for a very long time. We deeply appreciate it.
Is she staring at his ass right now? Like, is Janine Pirro like, man, I got to get me some of that scrawny butt?
Appreciate it. Thank you for the kind
there
words.
She is again, checking out his butt again.
Director, I appreciate it.
Is Dan Bongholio just a piece of meat to you, Janine Pirro? I mean, come on.
It. Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement.
Like pardoning people who committed crimes? Who, like, pardoning, guy who is responsible for drugs being sent into this country? Like that.
This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a team effort.
So it's like they let Susie, they let him out. Oh no! If Dan Bongiorno or whatever sees his shadow, he gets six months more of fascism, right?
The director and the attorney general emphasized that it was not a new public tip this came from. This was our internal work at the FBI. And I want to just really express my sincere gratitude to this attorney general.
I'm waiting for one of them to misspeak to just completely blow their entire line out the water that, it wasn't just, done this year.
General and this president for allowing us.
Exactly, Lady J. Like scrubbing Trump names from the Epstein file. That's what they've been working on to make sure that Trump and any other Republican who might get in trouble for being on the Epstein's list, the client list, can no longer get in trouble. Because I'm sure when Pam Bondi told us that they actually had the Epstein files on her desk, I'm sure she did. And then she started reading it and she was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Someone needs to redact these stat. So
that's the latitude. I spoke with Ms. Bondi very early when we, maybe day 2, and I said, we're going to get this guy. And she said, yes, you are. And we did. I want to also thank, he's not here, but Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who we deal with often as well, who could not have been more supportive. Whatever process we need, Judge Janine, Todd, and Attorney General Bond.
She's like, I was not expecting to be here for a full-on 6 minutes, let alone 20. I don't want to stay in here and talk about anything. I need my next drink.
They were there. All you had to do, they were a phone call away. And their team was amazing. We actually never had to make that phone call because they were always responsive. Thank you, Judge, as well. You were amazing. Folks, you're not going to walk into our capital city, put down 2 explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset.
But you can attack police officers. You can, commit acts of graffiti at the Capitol. You can do all that sort of thing. As long as you're doing it in the name of Donald Trump, you get a pardon. So there's a little asterisk there, because if you came into the Capitol and put 2 bombs, but they were bombs that are meant to help the president, I'm sure the president would be like, pardon, they were just misunderstood. It was fake news, whatever. But, again, let's not be fooled by them.
Not going to happen.
Kimchi goes, good Lord, they're all picking up that Orange Folius's kindergarten cadence. Not surprised.
We're going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way.
They all need to start doing the hand movements too, so they can all become like, the pushing together or pulling apart move. Or there's always the YMCA double jerk dance too, right?
He was getting away. Well, we didn't have to track him to the end of the earth. It wound up in Woodbridge, Virginia. I want to thank the team. They were amazing. They never let this go.
And that's if you lived in Virginia, I mean, you'd think you'd move. But I guess he was, 30 and still living with his parents, so maybe he didn't have the ability to do so, but still.
Attorney General Bond.
Big hook, accordion champions, yes. Although none can beat Weird Al, but they're all like trying to imitate him, I guess.
Bondi, for your incredible support. Director Patel, Judge.
Without all of you, I'm kissing your asses because I need y'all to support me because I don't want to lose my job.
I know they're giving me a lot of unnecessary credit, but make no mistake.
Why can't they just arrest the guy and let him say go before a jury? Because they have to attack Biden, because that's the majority of what they have to do in this administration is try and say, Biden was bad, this is why we're better, and then try and manipulating you into believing their bullshit. So that's why they have to, I mean, all administrations do this. I mean, whenever an administration has a big takedown like this, you do have a big press conference and everybody applauds and pats each other on the back and says how great of a job they're doing. But my point here is not necessarily to go over what there's, because we all know what they're saying is pretty much full of crap. And if they happen to be right this time, great, stop clocks and all. But it's just showing the sheer hypocrisy of this administration and what they're doing.
They were intimately involved in this and were there for all of those supportive mechanisms.
Big hook. Did they find a fall guy? I wouldn't put it past them. They might have been like, oh, well, this person here who actually did it, that person is a Trump supporter. We can't do that, so let's find somebody else to throw up instead.
And I deeply appreciate it. The man whose team did the work is the assistant director in charge of our Washington field office.
Tim goes, anyone else starting to think the suspect has a better than 50-50 chance of being innocent? I think he has a better than a 50-50 chance of getting off because of the ineptitude of, if he did it, I think it's more likely that he'll get off because they'll find some way to bungle the case and some attorney's going to come in and be like, rip their case to shreds and they won't know how to handle it. And then they'll just blame the attorney instead of blaming themselves for being a bunch of dumbasses.
Darren Cox. Darren's got some comments, and Darren has some more details on the case he can provide. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darren Cox. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office. Today's arrest of the alleged D.C. pipe bomber is a...
I'm rather impressed that they're actually using the word alleged. I mean, maybe him, I'm not that shocked about, but the other one saying it, I'm like, oh, they're actually, using proper terminology. Maybe they realize that they can't speak just so off the cuff, and because if they do, they're going to poison the jury well and make it harder for them to get a conviction because of a mistrial.
Momentous day for the American public, for the FBI, for our Joint Terrorism Task Force, or the JTTF, and our partners, the U.S. Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and ATF. We've also had a large number of other federal, state, and local departments that have worked on this investigation. And last but not least, the U.S. Attorney's Office. We all worked hand in hand to solve this investigation. This has been a long week in D.C. After the terrorist attack last week, the grit and determination of the FBI and our law enforcement partners is an example to the American public.
Maybe they waited to actually come forward with this arrest because maybe they knew, even if he is the guy, maybe they knew that, he didn't realize that they were on their tail and they needed to wait to break up some other story. Like, the fact that Hegseth is now shown to have misused Signal in the report that came out that he refused to come and get an interview for. Maybe they needed it to release this to distract from the whole murdering of people in the middle of the Caribbean or whatever. Maybe they needed this to kind of say, oh well, it was the Trump administration that granted the guy that shot up and murdered a National Guards person in DC, he was granted asylum by the Trump administration, so they came up with this now to be like, oh well, this is going to solve everything because here we go, we finally arrested this guy. They probably timed it so that they could have a little ace in the hole card as a distraction to pay no attention to the man behind the corner or to her. And then, of course, there's the obvious continued, we need to distract from the fact that, Donald Trump and the Epstein files. There's that too. So,
of what cooperation, partnership, and selfless service can accomplish. The amount of effort
Lady J, is this the guy from the Biden administration that never got fired? Maybe. It could be. Maybe we'll look that up after this. But then again, maybe that's the thing that goes against. So if this guy was left with the Biden administration, is everyone else saying that he was not doing his job until Trump came into office? Is that what they're saying?
FBI and our partners devoted to identifying the pipe bomber cannot be overstated. It is the resolve and determination of our investigators that ultimately led to the identification and the arrest of this suspect. We all know pipe bombs are dangerous.
No.
Not because of the potential loss of life, damage to property.
Christine, these people remind me of my late husband who tried to divorce me but was too incompetent to get the job done. I have another question about that, but I'm going to wait till after I'm recording that. Hold on.
Or injury that they can cause, but also because they are tools that terrorize our community.
Let's forget all the terrorizations of the community that's taking place by ICE. Let's forget that. But pipe bombs are the tools that terrorize the community. More communities this year have been terrorized by ICE than these two unexploded pipe bombs terrorized. Let's just make it clear.
Fortunately, these bombs did not explode, although they certainly could have. But make no mistake, the alleged pipe bomber did terrorize our community.
Fine. And again, if he's guilty, lock him up if you can, and put him in prison if you can. But don't pretend you care about the terrorization of communities now whilst ICE is doing their bullshit.
Today's actions underscore the long memory and the long reach of the FBI and our partners. I know some people had given up on finding the perpetrator, but not the FBI and not our partners. We do not forget, we do not give up, and we do not relent.
Doesn't that go against what they just said? I mean, the rest of them, like Pirro and Bondi and whatever, and Cash, they were basically saying that the last administration had given up. But he's saying the FBI didn't give up. So again, they can't keep their stories straight. Thank you, Fancy, for the $2 super chat. Appreciate you.
Though it had been nearly 5 years, our team continued to churn through massive amounts of data. And 5 years, we do not forget, we do not give up, and we do not relent. Though it had been nearly 5 years, our team continued to churn through massive amounts of data and tips that we used to identify this suspect.
Again, although it had been 5 years, our team continued to churn through data, completely contradicting what the other people said. There you go. He has just contradicted what the rest of the people from the administration are saying. He is basically saying that the administration that he's working for is 100% full of crap. Period.
I want to thank Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino for their leadership and for providing us the resources and the personnel to reevaluate all of the data that we had. We dove into more than 3 million lines of data to come up with this suspect. Director Patel, Deputy Director Bongino, thank you for your support, thank you for your passion, and thank you for your investment in this investigation. From me, on behalf of
Their investment, did they have money riding on it or something? They bought stocks or bonds or something? What?
the investigators, the Washington field office, and all of our partners, thank you. I'd also like to thank Judge Pirro. Judge, your team and you are absolutely amazing. You're the type of prosecutors and U.S. attorney, that all of the investigators across the country want to work with. They're hard-nosed and they're aggressive, and thank you for that. I'd also like to thank the American public for providing tips and leads, not just on this case, but every day on cases across the country that are being solved by law enforcement. And finally, I want to commend all of the members of the Washington field office, and most specifically, the investigative team.
I mean, this guy, at least seems to be the most reliable of the bunch. But again, he's contradicting what the administration says, so they're probably like kicking themselves like, God damn it, we didn't get him to say what we wanted him to say.
Their diligence and persistence led to this arrest today. And they are absolutely, totally dedicated not only to this case, but every case they work. So thank you, Washington field office. Last, I will say our work is not done. The FBI will continue to pursue every lead and use every resource that we have to ensure that the D.C. pipe bomber is brought to justice. Thank you.
Did she whisper in his ear, "You didn't read from the script. You made us look like fools."
You keep hearing the words partnership and team, and that's what we are. And we could not do this without our U.S. Attorney, Janine.
There's no I in team, but there is a T, and there's a T in Trump, and that's why we were successful.
Pirro. Janine, from day one, has worked tirelessly for our country and for our nation's capital.
She's been, as long as you put a bottle in front of me, I'll do whatever work you want.
It's my honor to introduce my friend, U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. And you have been listening to a lot of thank yous and a lot of gratitude. The reason that we're thanking each other to the extent that...
I mean, she looks like she just constantly has just a metal rod just shoved completely up her whatever replaced her spine or whatever. Just like...
we are today is because...
That's Janine Pirro? Really? Thank you for letting us know.
Because we have seen in this case an incredible collaboration around the clock, in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter.
In the middle of the night, I go drinking in my sleep.
We call each other, we make contact, they need a warrant, they need something, someone wants legal advice. These are the men and women who...
Kimchi, whose wine? What wine? Where the hell did I dine? Do you drink like I do? That's the song that was playing in the background of the thing of the parody from WGSO that called me liberal dandruff, which is why I threw that line in "Believe Me and You Feel Like I Do" in that parody that I made. Anyway,
never give it up.
Thank you, Bethany, for the 99-cent super sticker. Appreciate you.
You hear about government employees, but I don't know if you really realize what it is that they do. They are...
And I'm so drunk right now, I don't even think I realize what they do. But you might, and somebody does. Can you let me know? Bartender, bring me another drink. Another round. Round it, everybody.
Incredible. And this case is big. 4 years, 10 months, and 28...
Wait, she's wearing a scarf to hide the bruise. The bruises, or like the hickey from Bonholio or whatever? Like, did Bonholio give her hickeys and that's why she needed to wear that or whatever? I mean, I don't want to kink shame, but...
Days ago, an individual placed a bomb in the vicinity of both the RNC and the DNC.
So it placed one bomb in 2 locations? That's really impressive. You should get him to work for the military. If you can strike fear with one bomb in 2 different places, that's nuts.
And for that amount of time, that individual evaded accountability. Today, as a result of the cumulative.
And look at it, Cox's eyes around. He's just kind of like looking over, is like she's lying. He he knows. Like, watch Cox's eyes as you're listening to the drunken mess herself.
Efforts of the men and women in the FBI and the police department and the Department of Justice, we are finally able to make an arrest of an individual by the name of Brian Cole. As the Attorney General has indicated, he is arrested for transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce, as well as the attempt.
He's like, are they buying this bullshit? Are they really buying this bullshit?
Malicious destruction by means of explosive materials. You know, folks, this case involved millions of pieces of data, and it is
1 billion pieces of data.
a huge win because it was like finding a needle in a haystack.
She kind of does look like the one from Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, like, Machiavist!
So much of this evidence was very specific, but a lot of it was also very general. For example, there were 233,000 black end caps of the type that were used in this case. I want you to think about the fact that the FBI had to go through the sale of every one of them to try to find commonality with an individual, along with the purchase.
And you think that took just a few months to do? And that it wasn't going on over the last few years or so?
Of the pipe itself, the cap ends, the wires, the steel, and the 9-volt batteries. Every one of those had to be mined and remined to the point where we were able to then connect. And make no mistake, it was this administration, it was this president who made the decision that we were going to use all of our efforts to get it done. And
I don't believe you. I believe it was going on for longer than that, including with the testifying of the person from the D.C. office right there behind you, who's sitting there now. Like he just said that, and he's looking at us like, this bitch. Listen to this asshole right here. I can't confront her because I don't want to lose my job, but I know she's full of shit, and you should too because of his facial. Just look at how he's looking at her right now. He knows she's lying.
Get it done.
He's like, I've been working on this thing for 4 or 5 years now. Don't you make me look bad. Don't throw me under the bus. Even though you have me on stage, still, I've been working on this for longer than you want to say. I just can't say in front of you that you're wrong because I'm going to lose my job.
Finally, let me say this.
Like, now he's looking like, ugh, I'm a beaten man.
Today begins the formal process of accountability, where this defendant will begin his journey through the criminal justice system.
And I will stop at nothing except for several drinks every day to make sure that he doesn't actually get convicted because I'm going to be terrible at my job.
And I pledge to you that the United States Attorney's Office will take this case across the finish line. Again,
now,
thank you to the...
Just because it's taken across the finish line, it doesn't mean they're going to win. I don't know if you know how finish lines work, but there's most people who cross the finish line lose. Only the first place person wins. Or if you have different groups of people, you have several groups of first place people, whatever. But you understand the point. It's not a great analogy.
Incredible work of the FBI, to the Attorney General, and to our local partners as well. This is a job that I think was well done.
Even though it's not finished. And you have plenty of time to bungle it up. See how they bungle it.
Thank you.
She was like, I want to say something else, but here comes Pam, so I can't interrupt her anymore. Oh, well.
President Trump's directive to all of us was to not only make America safe again, but D.C., and to make it safe and beautiful.
Yes, Trump made D.C. so safe that, two National Guards people got shot. That's how safe D.C. is.
We could not have done that without our partnership with Mayor Bowser and Chief Smith. It is my honor to
Oh, Mario doesn't like Mayor Bowser.
Introduce Metropolitan Police Department Chief Smith.
Good afternoon, and thank you, everyone. I am Chief Pamela Smith, Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, and FBI Director Patel for having me here today. For nearly 5 years.
Now, let me read off the script that they wrote for me because, they can't, they basically wouldn't let me up here unless they knew I was going to follow the script.
The agencies standing here today have worked together under the leadership of the FBI to locate our suspect who is responsible for the 2 pipe bombs that were placed around our city. MPD members assigned to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force have supported this case from the beginning.
They've supported the case from the beginning. Not since this year, but from the beginning. I guess that slipped through the cracks.
That supports include...
They're probably sitting there going, I hope they don't realize that what they're saying is completely going against what we've told them earlier in this speech. But, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Looking, reviewing, and going through countless, probably thousands of hours of CCTV footage from around the DNC and RNC headquarters, and they followed up on hundreds and thousands of leads from members of our communities. What I will say today is that Washingtonians can rest easier today knowing that the suspect responsible for this act is now in custody.
Now, look, since, obviously putting down 2 pipe bombs is clearly a terrible thing to do. But were the people in Washington, D.C. really that stressed about this whole thing? Were they really that paranoid and worried about, oh, what if another pipe bomb happens like the 2 that were put down before the January 6th insurrection? Like, were they really that afraid that something like nothing has happened for years on the laying of the pipe bomb? Not the laying of the pipe, but the laying of the pipe bomb. Nothing has been done since then. So do you think that the people in D.C. have been constantly worried for the last few years, last 5 years, over whatever? Do you really think that they're sitting here, oh, what if he comes back and lays another bomb? No, they're not. That's just dumb. Anyway, let's continue.
This morning's arrest is yet another reminder that committing any act with the intention of harming the residents and visitors of the District of Columbia will result in your arrest. The men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, the ATF, the U.S. Capitol Police, and certainly the prosecutors at our U.S. Attorney's Office.
Tim, it was just a couple of pipe bombs, not like it was a laptop.
Will go to the furthest length. I heard somebody say to the end of the earth, but thank God we didn't have to go to the end of the earth today, that we were able to bring this subject into custody. I want to commend the men and women of the FBI and the members of the Metropolitan Police Department and all of the agencies who are standing behind me today on a job well done. I will turn it over now to Attorney General Bondi.
We're going to take some questions. Just remember, as I said in the beginning, this is ongoing. It's very active. The search warrants are still being executed.
It's ongoing. We still have to manipulate the case, right?
Many charges potentially to come. So just keep that in mind when asking your questions.
Jake, Fox News. So you said it had been nearly 5 years. We all know that, and that you said there have been no new evidence. So can you say anything about the evidence that actually did lead to this arrest? And then secondarily, you're talking about additional charges possibly. Can you say what those you might be considering, or terrorism charges, or what?
We can't discuss new charges, of course, yet. Ongoing. But what I will say is this is why this was so incredibly important. More than any other case, this is in our nation's capital where this happened. And now
it's in our nation's capital where, we just pardoned 1,600 people for committing a crime there, but this one we went after.
Thanks to the FBI, we know that this defendant was living just miles away from here in Virginia.
And hadn't done squat since then.
Yeah. So as to the evidence...
Which is another reason which makes me question the veracity of the charge, simply because of the fact, why would he just do that on that particular day and then nothing else? Unless there was something else involved. Unless there was something else that they don't want us knowing.
In the case, I'm going to let Director Patel take that, but it's still very active and very ongoing.
Thank you, General. And as I stated earlier, and as the General's already...
Again, thank you, General. And as it's weird. Like, I've never heard the Attorney General referred to as General. Have any of y'all heard of the Attorney General just being called General?
Reiterated. Our job is to provide full accountability in the court of law with...
Our job is to provide full accountability in the law. Has he been dipping into some of Janine's sauce? You know, sounds a little sus, right?
Judge Pirro's team. And in order to do that, we have to preserve the chain of custody and evidentiary value. What I will say generally is that when you go through 3 million lines of information, y'all can...
When you go through 3 million lines of information. When you go through 3 million lines of coke, lines of information.
And think about the amount of cell phone data that has to be ingested and triangulated and...
Ingested, huh?
Dumped and received. You also have to think of just sheer human ingenuity. We brought in a team of experts who were the best at what they do in their specific fields to reevaluate that evidence, to dive back in, and to not come back with a no for an answer until they had found the suspect. And when you develop evidence, you get a search warrant. And when you get a search warrant, you get an address. And when you get an address, you hit the house. And that's what we did.
Sadie, Wall Street Journal.
Hi there. So what can you tell us about this person's motivations and whether they were driven by politics or for any other reason why?
Right now it's ongoing. Again, we just executed the search warrant.
It's ongoing. They don't know. They don't have a motive, but it's ongoing.
Early this morning, it's ongoing. But America's safer, DC's safer because he's in custody.
Again, he hasn't done anything that we're aware of since the January 5th of 2021, but hey, we're safer. How many of the people that were pardoned from the January 6th attack on the Capitol have now been rearrested for other crimes, either that took place before or afterwards? But we're safer.
Mary Margaret, Daily Wire.
Thank you so much. So, any theory on why Kamala Harris has never mentioned coming within 20 feet of being assassinated, and any news on why her Secret Service team took so long to find this bomb at the DNC?
No, but what I will tell you is that evidence has been sitting there.
Was that OAN? Is that who that was from?
Collecting dust. This wasn't a...
Show me the dust that was on there. Show me the pictures of the data that was on a desk collecting dust before, I believe that it was actually collecting dust.
New tip. It wasn't some new evidence. It was the hard work of President Trump's administration, Deputy Director Bongino and Director
over there,
Patel.
Like, she's
I
lying
watched
again.
them from day one come in here and say, we are going to solve this crime. And they did, working hand in hand with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our great attorneys.
Oh, she can't even say this. She can't even say it straight without having to clear her throat.
General Bondi, Director Patel, or...
Oh, there's somebody else saying General Bondi. It's weird. Again, is this am I just not remembering that people called attorneys general, or is it just me? I don't understand this.
Deputy Director Bongino, can you describe, was there a particular moment where the evidence is coming in and it's starting to look like progress is being made? What was the moment that you knew that you were...
What was your eureka moment?
On the road to solving the case?
Dan, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I was smiling at you because I certainly remember the moment. Darren remembers it too. He said, "Are you sitting down?" Called me on the phone. I said, "Oh boy, why? Is this bad news?" And he said, "I think we got him." What exactly that tip was, we're going to have to pass.
I can't tell you what the tip was, but I can remember the conversation like it's yesterday.
On that for right now, while obviously we're in the prologue of a long book. This is just the beginning.
It's a long book, but it was only started in January of this year, but it's a long book, right? You believe them? We don't.
This is not the end of the investigation, as you all well know, having reported on these for a long time. There's interviews to be conducted. The search warrant processing scene is not even done. So we're at the early stages, so that's the only reason I hesitate to tell you what the exact tip was. But yes, that was absolutely the moment, and it was due to the...
Janine's like, I'll show you what the tip was. It came from Dan.
Diligent and incredible work of a team in the Washington field office that came in and just scoured through this over and over and over and over again.
Dean, nobody wants to talk about Donnie's tip. That's just gross.
Oh my.
Forensic? Was it a phone call? Was it something about a vehicle?
I'd rather, we'll just leave it generally, forensic evidence. Yeah, it's fair enough to say.
Excuse me? How long ago that was?
I'd rather not say because of the...
I'd rather not say how long ago it was because it would basically hurt our lie that we're trying to tell that only this administration worked on this. That's why he doesn't want to tell you, right?
Ongoing interview process, and I don't want to...
say one thing?
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to add something.
Can I say one thing that's going to ruin my case, but I need to make a point because I need more camera time and more voice time on camera?
To tell you how thorough this team was. That moment, that was kind of like the aha moment.
The aha moment? What do you take on me? And I'll tell you too. Anyway.
Wasn't the end. This team continued to work and work and work to get every bit of evidence that we could get. We didn't stop at that moment, and that's a testament to the fact that the team wanted every possible evidence piece.
We wanted to cross every I and dot every T.
Of evidence that they could gather.
One more? What's your motion?
One more, Kelly O'Donnell, NBC.
Thank you so much. Have you
Wait, they actually let someone from NBC ask a question and ask the last one? Wow.
Covered the notable sneakers. Have you done surveillance of this suspect from that aha moment to when you exercised the search warrants today? And obviously this happened on January 5th into January 6th. How should the public look at this case separate from all of the cases related to what transpired on January 6th and the president's subsequent pardons?
Good question, finally.
I'm going to let Director Patel take the evidence part. We have to be careful again. You've asked very good investigative questions, but this is ongoing, very active. But America should feel safer today. We say a pipe bomb. These are bombs. These were live, active bombs that
didn't go off, that didn't kill anybody, and there's no evidence that if the person who was charged with it did do it, was planning on doing it with anything else. So again, I don't quite understand why. You know, I'm sure the evidence points to somebody or whatever, but still, why would we feel more safe when the last time he did something was in 2021?
were placed in Washington, D.C. Director.
Thank you. This shows you how much detail you and the American public have paid attention to this case. Of course, we analyzed everything that you're seeing on this poster board and information that you will see through the formal charging process and court process. But we want to let that evidence speak for
the formal charging process and the court process. Like, he's very wound up right there. It looks like he's gonna look off in both ways, and just someone needs to rewind up his little windy toy
itself, because again, we do not want to disrupt the accountability that we owe the American public. Yes, you heard about the cell phone tower data. Yes, you heard about, of course, we surveil individuals who we think we're going to blow up American citizens. But how and when we do it and why we do it is not something we're ever going to reveal unless the Department of Justice deems it fit at trial. So we appreciate your attention to detail and your hardcore investigative work, but you can just imagine some of those same skills were being utilized by this FBI, this Department of Justice, or part.
And the FBI, the last administration, because we all know, including the words from Cox, that they did not stop during the Biden administration investigating this.
Partners, the ATF, and everybody across the board, and this is an interagency win for the American people.
Radar before.
Thank you all. And one more thing, this is the best birthday present I think Deputy Director Bongino could ask for today. Happy
So give him some teepee for his bunghole.
holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Wait. Did she actually say happy holidays?
And some of those.
Radar before.
Birthday present I think Deputy Director Bongino could ask for today. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
She said happy holiday. How much time is left in Pam Bondi's tenure now that she said the evil words of happy holidays? Oh no, Pam Bondi's time might be limited at the White House. So yeah. There's the Q&A session about the arrest of the alleged pipe bomber from Jan 5th of 2021. So do we believe what they say? Of course, we believe nothing this administration says. If they're able to prove their case in court, and he actually was the guilty person, good for them for actually doing something right for once. That being said, you understand why many of us will have lots of hesitancy to actually trust the words coming out of this administration, because they are probably the least trustworthy administration of all of administrations, and this includes Nixon. So, anyway. What kind of woke shit is that? Yes, what kind of woke shit is she saying? Happy holidays. What kind of woke shit is that? Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the land, Fox News warned its viewers of a dastardly plan. Of course, most of those people many of those people, at least two of them, were previously employed by Fox News, if not more, right? Steve, oh sure, you're breaking your back to be accountable for the public. Exactly. Bethany, I heard he might be on the spectrum according to Grandma, scapegoat. Maybe it's very well possible that he could be a scapegoat. It's very well possible that, again, it's going to be up to this administration to prove not just to the nation, but to prove in court that they actually made the correct case. And hopefully if the person is being railroaded and is a scapegoat and is somebody who's being taken advantage of simply because wrong place, wrong time, then I really hope they're able to find an attorney to be able to represent them and to be able to do what needs to be done to protect them from an unjust criminal prosecution. But then again, the other thing about that is that even if he is guilty, I hope he still gets a good attorney to be able to make sure that everybody dots the I's and crosses their T's, and make sure that they do the job correctly so that there's no mistrial. Because if somebody's guilty and a defense attorney does his job, it'll basically be to make sure that the prosecution doesn't cheat to get the guilty conviction. So that's why you need to have good defense. That's why I don't understand why conservatives typically hate defense attorneys, except for when the defense attorneys are defending those conservatives. They typically hate defense attorneys because they don't like that they make it harder for law enforcement to simply railroad people into prison. So it is what it is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Trump's words.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Another thing I guess wanted to bring up before we end the show today is apparently it's been reported that Jackie Vernon was apparently a very, very jolly, happy soul. He was the voice of Frosty the Snowman, and he was exposed by his own son for having 3 secret families. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Which made me want to write a parody. Frosty's a hoeman, made his way from town to town. And maybe by the next show I'll come up with more lyrics to actually fulfill the entirety of the song, because, oi, that's hilarious. His heart might have been made of coal. What else? What else was made of coal? Was his heart black and made of coal because he left his families and as he went from town to town? I don't know, but there's got to be a good parody there, right? So maybe by Monday I'll have the entire parody lyrics written so I can sing you a song next week. So can't spell Bongino without bong. No, you can't. Don't forget the lowercase j's, just attention to detail. Thank you. So Christine, I was recording the whole last part. I didn't want the last question involved, but you had mentioned something about the ex-husband, and I was like, was the ex-husband involved in the last group activity, or is that post him unaliving himself in the middle of his sister's house? Wait, that deserves another.
Oh my.
Anyway, I anticipate that with a good chunk of us that we're going to have a very good time when we do eventually launch Liberal Dan After Dark and have some fun conversations about such things. So let's see, did you catch the presser with the Rwanda and DRC presidents? Trump made a racist comment. I did not catch that, but I'll have to check that up for Monday, because I've been too busy focusing on the racist comments about the Somali people who are here in this country. So, Jan, the only way I'll ever have tattoos is with fake tat sleeves. I probably would get one at some point. Whatever. My wife got one. She had like X's and O's made, and she had it put on her foot. And she took like an X and an O from things that she found that her dad and her mom had written. And then she got, I think it was an X from me, and then an X and an O, or an O and an X from are both of our kids. So basically it's just hugs and kisses with all of our handwriting. It's very sweet. It's a little purple ones. It's not very noticeable, but it's still a neat little tattoo to have. So, so I understood you meant tat sleeves and not Tate sleeves. I figured you didn't want to have your arms look like Andrew Tate. I mean, that would be terrible, right? Susie, where are you reading from, or am I in another dimension? What do you mean, where am I reading from? I'm reading from the chat. Do you have it on live, or do you have it on, top? Let's see, what else? What else did Jolie say? Did I miss something that Jolie say? I know Jolie said one funny comment, but... I'm still waiting for Christine's response from my comment. Trump has a tat on his ass that reads "Danger, Blast Zone." That's from Melania to make sure she doesn't forget. Oh, okay, you didn't see Steve's comment. Okay, fair enough. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? We already talked about that. We talked about Frosty's a hoe. We talked about Kash Patel with his comments, with the bomber being caught. Oh, there was one other comment I wanted to make, because there are some people who do believe that, who believed for a while at least, that the person who laid the pipe bombs down was old MTG, old 6B. You know, I just would question that, because I don't believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene would be smart enough to be able to pull that off and be able to get away with it without running her mouth for a whole almost 5 years after this point. So that's why, one of the reasons I never believed that it was Marjorie Taylor Greene who actually laid the pipe bombs out there. Susie, I'm high. I might be joining you in maybe about a half an hour or so, not in person, but, you know, we'll see. Anyway, Keith Olbermann pretty much made the case for Trump having lost his mind and needs to be 25th Amendment out of office. Yeah, but you can't do the 25th Amendment without his, you know, cabinet saying, yes, he needs to be removed. And they're not going to do it. His cabinet's not going to remove him from office unless, I guess, maybe Peter Thiel would have to be like, hey, if you support the 25th Amendment and get J.D. Vance in office, then I'll support you and that. And maybe that would be the only way to do it, but I don't think Peter Thiel feels like he needs to do that, because he probably feels like he has more control now than without him being in office. So I want to know about the pooper. What? I missed that. I don't know. What else? Why did she want a pardon then? Everybody wants a pardon, right? Well, she wanted a pardon because people were saying that she helped people, gave tours through the Capitol, like her and Boebert and maybe one or two other people. Was it Hawley maybe? Who like actually, you know, had people in and were giving people insurrectionist tours, who then later came in and knew how to get their way around the building. So she thought that people might assume that she was involved with the insurrection part and not necessarily the pipe bomb part. I think that's why she wanted a pardon. Of course, now this administration says you shouldn't be able to preemptively pardon, and they don't like Joe Biden's pardons or whatever. But you know, hypocrisy is again a conservative prerequisite. So. Exactly, Jan Morgan, MTG made her $20 million and her lifetime pension. Yep. And that's why she's not leaving yet until her pension kicks in. And you can't convince me otherwise. So, all right, so I believe we are ready to end this show today. Big Hook says, I think Trump is not long for his dirt nap. Probably not. I don't know. And then maybe that's another reason why they're not going to the 25th Amendment. They figured nature's going to do its work for them. So hypocrisy is why I'm a Satanist. Yes, but you still didn't answer my other question. Or are you pleading the fifth on that one? Anyway, I don't know how much. Let's talk a little bit about Liberal Dan After Dark a little bit, because I've been mulling around some ideas on that. I am really going to do it. It may be something that I might wait till the beginning of the year to actually, you know, start working on that and get it done, and then we'll see how it turns out. But you know, I wish there was a way for me, or I need to figure out if there's a way for me to tie in Discord to people who subscribe on Twitch or on YouTube, and see if that's a possible way to do it. I could always look through the transcript, I guess. But let's see. Let's just scroll up. But anyway, so the point of that is you know, we're going to be talking about things on that channel like issues of sexual health, but you know, we could talk about things like ethical non-monogamy. We can talk about you know, we can talk about various other things. You know, not just you know, talk about consent. I think the first video that I make on that is going to be a video about consent, specifically because I want to tell people, you know, people, they're going to be talking about things like, for example, you know, that you might not want to see or hear about, so you might want to basically know that we're going to be talking about more adult subjects on that channel. So, so the first video I make will be about stuff like consent or something like that, and you know, basically, you know, we're going to be talking about these things in a frank and frank nature, factual nature, all that sort of things, just to give people a heads up. But you know, to know that if you're going to be following this channel, you're going to see things that you might not necessarily want to see, and maybe we'll talk about people who live things, who live life, you know, and do different things, you know, than the standard, whatever. I think hold on. I'm still missing the comment. Whatever. If you feel like you want to send it to me an email, liberaldanradio@gmail.com. Otherwise, whatever. But again, I'm still going to work out all the total details. But it is something that I've been toying around with. It is something I want to get done, and so I will eventually get it done and get the channel made. We'll see how we do. Susie Jones, my safe word is more.
Oh my.
That would make things quite difficult now, wouldn't it? We can talk about safe words on Liberal Dan Radio After Dark as well. So, oh yes, and absolutely, Jeff, you will have to be on the channel because I'm sure you'll make a bunch of fun jokes or whatever. I forget exactly how many people you need to be on there to actually be able to go live with it. I don't know how often we'll go live, but one of the things I want to be able to do is, again, be able to see if I can tie in memberships on YouTube and Twitch to, like you could do with Patreon over on the Discord, to make sure that the people who are members there are members can be able to see it if I go live there instead of going live somewhere else, instead of going live here on YouTube on a different channel. So we'll see. I want to come up with different ways. All right, cool. Look forward to the emails, Christine. Anyway, so I think that's the end of the show today. I think some people didn't quite hear all of the songs that they might want to hear at the beginning, even though I did play Had Biden Done It. But, I do I think Had Biden Done It is my favorite of the songs, even though there are other, I mean, the Baby Incubator slaps, don't get me wrong, but I think Had Biden Done It is the most catchy and fun one. The real problem I have with, the newer one, the hoax one, is that it mispronounces the last time it says hoax. It's you can hear it. It kind of fades off into the end, so I'm not too worried about it, but it's still aggravating. But anyway, see, there's Denver After Dark, so Liberal Dan After Dark's got to be better. I would hope so. And I think with some of y'all are going to make the show really fun, right? Let's see, you only need 10 on Substack. It might be a matter of time than whatever, but I don't know. It might. I'll look at it because they changed the rules so much. I mean, they changed the rules of monetization that I was trying to push hard for 1,000 when I didn't realize that I already had the requirements subscriber-wise for the first monetization here on YouTube. So, and Twitch was stupid easy to get monetized and whatever. So yeah, you had to be able to go live on Twitch. So we'll see. I do have a Substack though. There is a Liberal Dan Radio Substack if you want to follow that. I'm trying to push more stuff to it. I'm actually pushing more of these little short videos that have been created also on Instagram as well. If you use Instagram, I'm there. I've noticed some people, Andrea specifically, has been reposting a lot of stuff I post to Instagram, but other people have as well. So anyway, thank y'all so much. Have a great one. Unless anything huge happens tomorrow that makes me have to go live for a special show, we'll be back Monday, same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, thank y'all very much, and peace.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, phone numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap.
Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator.
This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still. Just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just state-owned pods.
Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator.
Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Stacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight.
Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator.
Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best. Cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, this show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best. Cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.
I like turtles.